Following the latest developments out of Tallahassee, Florida, where a mass shooting left 2 people dead and 6 others injured. It happened at Florida State University. Police say the suspect is a 20-year-old student at the school. He is the stepson of a sheriff's deputy who was able to get his hands on his stepmother's former service revolver. We're joined now by FSU student Reid Seybold, who was on campus when all this took place. Reid, before I ask you about what happened and your experience during this mass shooting, just how are you doing? How are you feeling? How does your family feel knowing that you survived another mass shooting in America?
I haven't really begun to process any of this. There's still so much adrenaline pumping through my body. And my family, they're relieved that I'm okay and I'm alive, and the same with my friends and my loved ones. But we're really at a loss, because this wasn't a failure of gun control. This was simply a failure.
Yeah. But I think you're right on about that, because as we've reported, the suspect allegedly got the weapon from his mother, who was a sheriff's deputy, a stepmother. Where were you when the shooting happened?
For sure. So I was in the Bellamy building, the College of Social Sciences. We were in the basement. We had our class canceled so we could work on a group project, but our group made the decision to go into the classroom to work. And so we were down there. 2 students ran in yelling about a shooting. And from there, we very quickly locked down. We were locked down for about an hour. And we were, hugging those next to us for some comfort. Didn't matter if we knew them or not. It was just the person next to you. We were getting ready for the worst.
When getting ready for the worst, I can't imagine. I mean, can you take me through your state of mind and the state of mind of your fellow students at that moment when you realize that there is a mass shooting happening, and you have no idea where this individual is, the suspect, and where he is shooting people from? So it could be anywhere. I can't imagine sort of the mental gymnastics that one has to do to try to wrap your mind around the unknown like that.
Sure. So I everyday carry, and the only place I don't carry is on campus, because it's a felony, and those who are lawful gun owners and those who carry legally don't either. My initial feeling was of nakedness, if you will. I felt unsafe because I didn't have the agency to protect myself and those around me. And so what we instead of going to protection, we actually went into intelligence mode, because this is a class for the Florida State Intelligence Program. So we all went on an intelligence finding mission. Essentially, we were trying to get any information possible from wherever we could, and we started to see a bunch of misinformation. At some point, my mother heard about 34 people being dead. And so that's kind of when it started to worry us, was when there was a bunch of different reports.
So you knew the suspect apparently from a political club at your former college. We've heard from some folks who grew up with him. I'm always apprehensive to suggest that somebody who commits a heinous act because they're introverted or because they're quiet or because they may seem strange to people would lead them to believe that someone could do such a thing. I was an introverted kid. I was quiet. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and I never once thought to do anything like this. So what can you tell us about who he was and what type of person he was?
For sure. So, like you said, I'm not going to speculate as to why he might have done it, but Phoenix had a history of espousing alt-right and white supremacist rhetoric. I remember hearing somewhere that at some point he said that Rosa Parks was in the wrong. He continued to do this, and when he was part of that club, to which I was president, it got to the point where we had to ask him to leave. And at some point after I had left, he had been allowed back, and according to the current president, he continued to espouse white supremacist rhetoric. Now, I'm not going to say whether that's why he would have shot up the school or not. But there was a history there. I don't think it had anything to do with him being quiet or, off. We really don't know.
So Reid, you essentially kicked him out of the club. Can you just, besides suggesting to folks that Rosa Parks was in the wrong, what would have led you to remove him from this club?
For sure. So it got to the point really where he was making enough people uncomfortable, to where it was either he shows up or a good number of people show up. And that's kind of when we had to make that decision. But he took it well. All things considered, nothing to raise a red flag. And from what I understand, he ended up at the Turning Point chapter on campus. Seemed to have found friends there, I guess. But I haven't really kept up with him much since then. I've seen him a couple times in passing, but he, seemed fairly normal.
And in your club, there were no writing submissions, or in other words, there's nothing on paper of him espousing some of those views when he was part of this club?
No, this is just a roundtable talk group about, current events of the day. We didn't really keep minutes or anything. We just, it was supposed to be a respectful conversation among peers. And when he went beyond that, that's when we had to do that.
Wow. All right. Some really fascinating insight there from Reid Seybold, a student at Florida State University who knew the suspected shooter. Reid, thanks for your time. I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you and your classmates are okay. And stay safe out there.
Thank you, Vlad.